So today we're talking about the African music, and our presenter is Kevin Kimtai. Kevin Akumonyu Kimtai is a doctoral student in music education at UF, currently in his second year. He serves as the director of Bazeni Soti African Choir and a graduate assistant at the Center for Arts, Migration, and Entrepreneurship, where he contributes to projects exploring music, arts, culture, and innovation. Originally from Kenya, Kevin holds a master's degree in music education and has previously served as a part-time lecturer at Kenyatta University, high school music teacher, choral director, curriculum developer with the Kenya Institute of Curricular Development, and author with the Kenyan Literature Bureau, national adjudicator with the Kenyan Music Festival, and national examiner with the Kenya National Examinations Council. His expertise spans African choral traditions, music composition and arrangement, curriculum development, and inclusive music teacher education. Kevin has presented at national and international conferences, including the Society for Music Teacher Education and Indiana University's International Conference on Africa. He's a recipient of multiple national awards from the Kenya Music Festival and the Ministry of Education in recognition of his outstanding contributions to music performance, composition, and education. Recently, he was invited to facilitate a performance of Swahili songs at Indiana University during the celebration of World Swahili Day. Passionate about using music as a tool for education, cultural development, and community empowerment, Kevin continues to champion African music within academic and performance spaces. Kevin, go ahead.
Thank you so much for the invitation. And I'd like to sincerely thank the Center for African Studies also for making this one possible. So you've heard about me. My name is Kevin from Kenya, and I hope that you're going to have a very interactive session. So let's delve into the music. So I'll be talking about African music, and we'll be looking at African music from the traditional perspective to the modern or contemporary. So before we get into the music, it's good to understand a little bit of information about Africa. So Africa is the second largest continent, and music usually is a very integral part of the African society. So Africa has about over 2,000 languages. Actually, Kenya, where I come from, is on the eastern part of Africa, and Kenya by itself has over 60 languages. So you can imagine how many languages are there in Africa. So African music is usually the central part of Africa. Music is an integral part of the African society. Music is usually played in different aspects in the African community. So we'll be looking at that shortly. So before we get into the music, I wanted to just think about this. What are some of the myths? What are some of the facts that you've heard about African music? Or what is some of the information that you've heard about African music that may either have been true or not true? So we'll start with some of the myths and misconceptions that are usually out there about African music. So there are people that say that African music is all about drumming. I'm sure you've heard that. Then there are those ones that will say that Africa has only one type of music. But we've seen that African music has over 2,000 different languages. And each of these languages has its own native music, although some of the music could be related. But each of these languages have their own music. There are also some arguments that African music is only traditional and does not change. So we will see whether that is true in the course of our discussion. And then there are also people who usually say that everyone in Africa plays or sings music the same way. So we look at different genres from different communities to see whether that is true. So we'll try and demystify some of those claims. So some information or some facts about African music. Number one is that Africa is diverse. As we've seen, there are over 2,000 languages. Each of these languages has its own unique way of speaking. Although some languages are related, there are some words that could actually be used by different languages. Each of these languages is very, very unique in its own way. And then the other fact about African music is that it has undergone frequent and decisive changes throughout the centuries. And some of these changes have been as a result of migrations that have been taking place. One person marrying a person from a different community, or one person marrying a different person from a different country. So some of these have brought about some of the changes or some of the developments that we'll be seeing in African music. So let's get into some of these characteristics of African music. And I'll spend a little bit of time here. So the first characteristic of traditional African music. So we are starting from traditional, remember, and we are moving all the way to contemporary. So the first one is that African traditional music was gender specific. So we had music that was specifically for the female gender, and then we had music that was specifically for the male gender. And then we also had music that was for mixed gender. So you would hear people singing a particular type of music, and you'll be able to tell that this music is sung by the female gender, this music is sung by the male, or this music is sung by both male and female. Then we also had, one of the prominent characteristics is that music was age specific. So we had music that was literally sung by old generation. We had music that was sung by the young generation. We had music that was specifically for the youth. We had music that was specifically for people that are in the age of maybe moving towards initiation period. So you could not easily find music that was meant for the old generation being sung by the female, by the young generation. So it was like some sort of a taboo. And then music was also occasional based. What we mean by this is that music used to be sung at different occasions. And we had different ceremonies, different occasions in the African society where music played an integral part. So we had the music that was sung when people were farming. We had the music that was sung when people were harvesting in their farms. We had the music that was sung when a child had been born. We had the music that was sung when children were being taken to be initiated. We had music that was sung when a prominent person had died. So music was an integral part of every part of the society. And then music was also functional. So in each of these occasions, music played a particular role. So for instance, if it was during a circumcision ceremony, music would be sung to give courage to the initiates. Yeah. Sometimes it would be sung to mock those ones that would be coward. Yeah. Who show some sorts of cowardice. And then music was also polyrhythmic. I'll not talk about polyrhythmic because I'll talk about in my next slide. But polyrhythmic is that you had like many rhythms appearing in the same music. So I'll discuss at length when I'll be showing you some of the videos that depict polyrhythm. Then music, most of the African music was in call and response style. So call and response is whereby you would have music that is sung by a group of people, but we had a soloist. So this soloist would call, and then we had a response by the group. Yeah, or sometimes, and this call sometimes would be in long phrases, sometimes they would be in short phrases, and then this the group answers either in a similar way or slightly varied. Then music was relatively repetitive. During that time, we didn't have notation softwares. So the easiest way to remember some of this music was to make them as short as possible and as repetitive as possible. So when the music keeps repeating, you have a certain section of a melody repeating itself, then you'd be able to you'd be able to easily remember that music. Then we had vocal ornaments that would be included in the music. So we had this, and there were particular vocal ornaments that were meant for the female gender, particular vocal ornaments that were meant for the male gender. So for the male gender, most of the time they would go to the forest to keep animals. So to show that they were courage, they would have like vocal ornaments like, yeah. But for the female gender, then you will have like high-pitched, and I'm sure you might have watched it online, what we call ululations. So you'll hear like the females doing. So those were some of the vocal ornaments that would be incorporated in the music. Then there was use of costumes. You can see the picture there, they are putting on costumes. So you could actually sometimes, by looking at the performance on stage, you could actually be able to tell that this is a performance of maybe somebody, a child has just been born. So there are particular costumes that would be worn during a certain occasion. Like for instance, there's some particular attire that would tell that something maybe has happened. So for instance, like during funeral occasions, you'll find people wearing maybe black, fully black. So in African society, we had specific costumes that would aid, and in most cases would aid in the performance. Then music was generally accompanied by instruments. So we'll be looking at these instruments because one of the myths that we talked about is that there are people that were arguing that the African is just having drums. So we'll see whether it's just drums, but you'll realize that there are other different types of musical instruments that can be found. So I want us to shortly listen to a certain melody, and we'll see whether some of these characteristics that I've talked about are coming out.
Wamboi wa maito enyitia mweyo wega ngakwendia kindu kirito. Wamboi wa maito enyitia mweyo wega ngakwendia kindu kirito. Wamboi wa maito enyitia mweyo wega ngakwendia kindu kirito.
Some of the characteristics that are coming out, yeah? So if we had time, I could have gone through all the characteristics and you realize that all of them are coming out. So let's quickly move on. So we start with the musical instruments. I mentioned that one of the myths that was coming out is that African musical instruments are just made up of drums. But African music is classified into 4 main types of instruments, yeah? So these instruments are broadly classified into idiophones, membranophones, aerophones, and chordophones. So the phones is just coming from the English word phonic, which means sound. So we want to see each one of them, what it entails. So let's start with idiophones. So idiophones, we refer to them as self-sounding instruments. Why are we referring to them as self-sounding instruments? It's because that when you play these instruments, sometimes they could play by hitting, by striking them, or by shaking them. They produce sound by their own body. Yeah. So you don't have like a material or a material that is maybe attached to it that would produce sound. So the instrument by itself produces sound. That is why we refer to it as self-sounding. let's listen to this. Then we go to another one that is played by sliding.
This is an overview of the log drum, or sometimes called the krin. This instrument is played with 3 people. Each person has their own. And this comes from the forest region of Guinea, West Africa, where Bemba's from.
Yeah,
This is made out of white wood that's called melina wood. And they're hollowed out by hand, and each slat is tuned to a different note. So mine sounds different than Bemba's, sounds different than Hassan's. See this one?
Okay, because of time, let's quickly move. So maybe some of you may be asking, why am I not categorizing it under drums, but in under idiophones? Because drums are in a different category, that is membranophones. This is because those ones are not drums. You'll see that the membranophones usually have a membrane section that is hit to produce sound. But this one, the drums, is once you hit that wooden block, it produces sound by itself. So it's self-sounding. So it will be classified under idiophones. Then we have also like xylophones, and a very good example is the marimba. You see, like they are made up of the wooden blocks of different sizes, and they're made up of different sizes because so that they can be able to produce different pitches or different pitch levels. So let's listen. Thank you. Then we also have now the lamellophones. Some usually describe it as thumb piano. Why do you refer to it as a thumb piano? You realize that it has several keys, like the way the piano consists of different keys. But now this one, the instrument is made up from the local materials. They were made up of the bicycle spokes that could be crushed and flattened so that they're able to produce different pitches. So let's listen in. This is this instrument is referred to as mbira, and it comes from Zimbabwe. Okay, then we move to another category of African music now. Number 2 is membranophones. Now this is where all the different types of drums fall in. And the reason as why they are referred to as membranophones because they have a membrane, which would be made in most cases from an animal's skin. So they could be played by just hitting the membrane, and then it produces sound. So these drums were categorized into 2 main groups. So you have the single-headed and double-headed. So for the single-headed, it could be held vertically, so you just hit it from the top. But if it was double-headed, then it could be held horizontally because you are hitting the membranes from both sides. So let's look at this example. So this is a good example. We have also the aerophones. Now, aerophones is like now the wind instruments. It's like if you were to compare it to the Western instruments, the categories that would fall into Western would be like the brass and the woodwinds. Yeah. So now we had the aerophones had been categorized into different categories. So we had like instruments like the horn. We had those flutes that could be held vertically while playing, those ones that could be held horizontally. Let's look at this example. That is held vertically. So that will be
Hey, yo narera mama, ah, yo narera mama.
the coastal part of Kenya. Then we also had now the chordophones. Now chordophones were mainly made up of strings. I've given like some examples there. So these different instruments will have different number of strings. The lowest actually would be a 1. There's an instrument called orutu from the Luo community in Kenya that has only 1 stringed instrument. And you play it by bowing the way you normally play the violin. So you play it by bowing. So for it to produce different pitches, you just need to move your fingers on different levels of the strings, and you'll be able to now have the different melodic sections. So let's look at this example. The example I have here is of a lyre, and let's look at this example. Usually argue that the music is usually very therapeutic. So I don't know if you support me that It is played by plucking. You just pluck the string. Okay, so those are the 4 main categories of the instruments. So let's talk a little bit about dance, although I heard that there's somebody that will come to discuss dance in detail. So music and dance were inseparable. You wouldn't easily find somebody singing an African music without dancing. The dance will just come automatically. You just find your body moving, right? So there are different dances for different songs or different folk songs. So let's look at let's talk about rhythm. I'd mentioned in my previous slides that rhythm was mainly polyphonic. So polyphonic, so you'll have different groups of rhythms coming out in the music. So you'd be able to you'll not be able to easily tell whether the meter in the music was maybe in triple time or duple time. So we'll try and listen to this performance and then elaborate. Although there's some incorporation of some Western instrument in this, but I want you to understand the aspect of polyrhythm. One, two, terms of pitch and tone, African music lacked a definite tonal key. It's not like the way we do it in the Western world, whereby if you just need to maybe pitch yourself on the piano and be able to tell that this music is in D major or E minor. So African music, the pitch was dictated by the soloist, the person that was soloist. Because you remember that the music was in call and response. So the pitch that the soloist would have picked by calling, that is the pitch that the group would maintain to the end. So if the soloist messed up and in most cases it would just come naturally and it would be the range of the singers. But in case maybe the soloist picked up a very high pitch, then it means that the singers at some point will not be able to hit some of the notes. So pitch was dictated by the soloist, and then music was generally in call and response style, which we had already talked about. The dances, we realize there are different types of The reason as to I'm showing you all these dances is that different communities had different types of dances. There are those communities that whose dances were very vigorous, as you saw. And then there are those ones that were just softly done and slowly done. So like the community where I come from, the dances focused more on, they were concentrating more on from the west going upwards. So this is how we dance. Not in a rush. But then we had other communities whereby dances now focused around the West. So you'd see a lot of shaking of the West. And then there are those ones focused on the legs. So you'll see a lot of jumping. And then there are those ones that were just acrobatic in nature. They just move all parts of the body. That is how diverse the dances could be. Then let's talk about harmony. So harmony was not like structured in a specific or in a strict way. So it was just naturally done, whereby you'll have different melodies being sung, and then you'd have like those melodies were crisscrossing, and in that way there are some harmonies that could come out. Some of these harmonies will just be a third apart. Others will just produce some level of microtones. There are those melodies that have pentatonic scale, where you have do, re, mi, sol, la. So the music was just revolving around those 5 notes. Yeah, you didn't have like fa, the t's and stuff. Let's listen to this, and then you'll notice that there's a vocal ornament that will be coming out of this that I didn't talk about, and that is called yodeling. So sometimes yodeling was also categorized as a vocal ornament in the African setup. let's talk about texture. So the texture was actually very rich, and this one was attributed to the fact of we had mentioned about the presence of polyrhythms, different rhythms coming out. Then we also had an aspect of heterophony, whereby you had same melody performed slightly in a different way. So you would have the same melody being varied in different styles. So you're just having the same text, but you're just varying the way the melody is moving. And then we also have some aspects of polyphony. And then we also had an aspect of ostinato. Polyphony, I talked about it. And then ostinato is whereby you just have a short melodic phrase that keeps on repeating itself. By men. Melodies overlapping with the beat. So that's overlapping of Okay, so that is in as far as traditional music is concerned. So now let's look at genres of music, because what was coming out is that all African music are the same, and all different communities from Africa perform music the same way. So now we are beginning to have a transition. Now we are moving now from the traditional perspective. Now we are moving now to the more modern and the more the music that we now listen to in modern times. So we'll start with I'll not be able to discuss all the genres, but I'll go ahead and discuss some of them. So one of them genres is griots. It's usually featured the kora instrument and those other instruments that you can see there. I'm mentioning the kora because that is the stringed instrument that the guy in a white t-shirt, white attire is wearing. So that kora will be played, and then you will have maybe somebody narrating a story as the music is being performed. Now the kora is actually from the West African side of Africa, mainly coming from Gambia, and then there are a few other countries around Gambia that also have now the kora instrument, but then they have like different names depending on their countries. So let's listen to this section. So singing and playing of instruments were just inseparable. Now, let's look at choral music. Now, choral music is more modern because of the coming up of education, people now have begun going to schools. Now people have started adopting like even the Western world of doing things. They have learned now how to write, how to read music, and now they are able to write their own music. You realize that even some of the harmonies now, they are now structured in a way that is now systematic and more organized. So you'll realize that this choral music was mainly performed by schools, or performed in schools and in churches. So and then there could be sometimes competitions, like we have one of the greatest festivals in Kenya that is called Kenya Music Festival. When you get time, just search on the internet. It's a very, very big festival, which usually attracts a very large audience. And actually, I've been a beneficiary of that festival. And we've had like some professors from the University of Florida always coming up for the last 5 years just to come and witness how the festival is run. So it's a very big festival. Take time and search on it on YouTube and you'll be amazed. Then, so there was a lot of dancing. So we are moving, yes, into the modern type of music, but then the dancing is still part of the African culture. So you'll not find them singing while just standing. So you'll find them like their body still moving. So let's look at this first example from South Africa. Okay, then this next one now is performed during the festival. This was one of the Kenya Music Festival. This is myself with my students last year, Alliance High School from Kenya. So we were performing one of the arrangements that I had made for them. This is a song from Congo, the Congolese communities.
About this girl that is giving him problems, yet all he did was to love her. More from the song, arranged by Kimtai Kevin. Then music is moving now into the world, and now people have started appreciating African music. This is one of the choirs from Pennsylvania University that was performing one of the music from Kenya, arrangements from Kenya. So the African music is now is becoming global. Nimerudi mashambani means I'm going back to the village. Then we also have another genre of music that is referred to as popular music. So popular music is because now we are moving now into the modern world. There are some studios that have come up. We have the technological advancements. So you realize that the music, people are able to actually now go to studios and record some of their music. So they are able to incorporate now, even they're able to see other music from other parts of the world, like even the Western world. And you realize that now they're able to borrow some music from these other parts of the world, and then they're able to incorporate it into their own music. Listen to this example from Tanzania.
Otimbi na timbelio. Wasafi. Sobanuka kats. Sobanuka kats.
Jizo. Odele mino na kwe. Osali no lokote. Otogino kutute. Na pete kaka bongo yobe ba pesa ya. Yobe ba pesa ya. Cleopatra Mukula.
Ase otele mino na kwe. Osali no lokote. Na motokia chibude. Wataka ule wewe. Yobe ba pesa yo.
Les pacificateurs jusqu'au bout, Vital Kameni. Yumano Gagati, Zobano Gagati, Yumano.
Okay, so then some of this music are being influenced by music from other parts of the world. So most of the famous singers or artists that have influenced some of our music, you realize that hip hop and pop musicians like Beyonce, like Drake, are influencing some of the way the young musicians are writing their own music. So they are actually drifting away or sometimes incorporating some of this Western music into their own types of music. Let's listen to this. And you realize that some of this music will have like the same, for those ones that maybe understand a little bit more about music, the same chord progression. You realize that this example that I'll play, if you listen to it, you'll find that there are some musics here in the Western world that have a similar chord progression. Let's listen.
I bet you love it too. Sijaweza kujidefine, self-esteem nili-inherit mbovu. Miukona malaika though ni mtovu. Funny how I feel safe only when I hold you. Nimeinvest sana, najipoteza tukiachana. But you're a part of me I'm willing to lose. Talia kwa lu, nikifight kujidanganya. It'll take time but I'll get over you. I'm turning a new leaf. Vegetarian sitaki a new beef. I need a lover who has eyes to see everything between. Adios, bye bye. I'm turning a new leaf. Vegetarian sitaki a new beef. I need a lover.
Yeah. And then you also have now the Afrobeats, which is another genre of music, and it originated from Nigeria. Also has a lot of influence of the hip hop, the R&B, and then plus the traditional African rhythms. So you have all those.
Yeah. Money fall on you, banana fall on you, Prada fall on you, cause I'm in love with you. Money fall on you, banana fall on you, paparazzi follow you, cause I'm in love with you. Are you done talking?
Then we have also Amapiano, which originated from South Africa. We have Taarab music that is very lyrical and usually has some elements from the Arabs, Arabic and Indian music. So if you listen to it, you'll realize that it's mostly performed by the coastal communities who had a lot of interaction with the Arabs. If you go around the history, you realize that they had a lot of interaction with the Arabs in the past. So you realize some of those music have like some aspects of, or some of the melodies, the structure, the characteristics that feature the same characteristics that you'd find in Arabic music or Indian music. Then you have Congolese music, which originated from Democratic Republic of Congo, and majority of these other countries in Africa have also borrowed some of the stylistic features in their music. So you realize that the main features is usually the melodic guitar riffs, and then you have the call and response, and then the polyrhythmic percussion. Let's listen to this example.
Mon amour, tue-moi une bonne fois, Adolphe.
Then we also have now Ghazal, which originated from Sudan, which is the northern part. It's northern part of the East Africa. Maybe so can maybe say northeast. So it's northern part of Kenya. So Sudan. Let's listen to the. Then we have Mbalax from Senegal. We have Bongo Flava from Tanzania, originated from Tanzania. It has some aspects of reggae, R&B, and Afrobeats.
It's the kids, baby.
Ay, 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 ay. Kutoka halo baby ni chumwa dharani minataka waumie.
Then we also have now this gospel house disco dance. Now this one, this example that I'll show you trended a lot during the COVID period. And I don't know if some of you took part in the participation of that dance. So let's listen. This from this example, this is what I was able to do in my school with my students when during COVID, when everybody was doing a challenge for that particular performance.
Nilondoloze uhambe nami tungangishilana Jerusalema ikayalami.
Then we have now music that is used for education and social change. And a very good example is a music by Miriam Makeba, who was a very great activist. I'm sure some of you might have heard about her. She comes from South Africa. But this example I'm playing, she was singing about Mozambique.
My people, open your eyes and answer the call of the drum. Frelimo, Frelimu, Samora Machel, Samora Machel, let's come.
We have Angelique Kidjo from Benin, is also one of the musicians that sang about education.
Africa, oh yeah, Africa, oh my God, Africa, 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 my Africa, my Africa, Africa.
No matter the wave, I will always ride for ya. I'll be here to save you, your Superman fly for ya.
Then we have Oliver Mtukudzi, Zimbabwe. He was a philanthropist and a UNICEF ambassador. So the example that I'm playing is that he was talking about HIV and AIDS. It was during that period when it had just broke out. So he was trying to create awareness.
What shall we do?
What shall we do?
Then, so the list, I could talk and talk and talk. The list is long. So, so just to wind up, I promise you, you will love this video. If this video does not put a smile on your face, then ask me why after my presentation. So this is actually my last slide. So some people have decided to use music to empower young children, and some people are using music to even take students or to take care of students or to take care of children that are living in homeless the orphans, children that have been left homeless, and children that are orphans. So they're using music, they're tapping into their talent to create some opportunities for these children. This was in Britain Got Talent, whereby these kids from Uganda did a very amazing show. So let's just listen to slightly long, but this is completely the last video.
How are you guys? Hi, Simon.
How are you doing?
We are good. We are so excited.
So tell everybody where you're from and what brings you to Britain's Got Talent today.
Okay. We are from Uganda, Kampala, Africa. So we are going to dance for you guys and for you judges.
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
And have you brought anyone with you?
Mr. Kavma Dauda.
Is he there?
Yes.
Can you say hi? Can we say hi?
Yeah, go on, please do.
Hi. Oh, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Tell us a little bit about this group.
I have 30 kids that I'm taking care of. Some are orphans. We are using music, dance, and drama to make lives better.
Amazing.
Oh my God, it's amazing.
Bless you, darling. That's incredible.
Ghetto Kids is like an orphanage in Uganda. We are 30 kids living in one house. We are one big family. before. I was living on the streets of Kampala. Being part of the ghetto kids has given me a lot of opportunities. They feed me, I go to school, they buy me clothes. If this one is sad, we all be sad. If we are happy, we all be happy. Mr. Kavma Dauda, we call him Dad. He's not our real father, but he's the one who takes care of all of us.
Ghetto Kids is all about making their lives better through paying their school fees, feeding, hospital bills, all the basic needs that a child wants. My dream is to build a very big home and help many kids as I can.
Over the hills and far away.
It's a happy place because it's all about making lives better through dance.
Because of him, that's why we go to school. That's why we are healthy. Because of him, that's why we are here.
This is the first time for the kids to be in London and they are so excited.
What do you think London's like?
London, it's cold. It's freezing.
I'll be so proud to watch all of them perform tonight.
Because of dance, we are here. We can't wait. We are so happy. We are so excited.
Take me to my happy place.
Well, we're all rooting for you and the stage is yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Oh, look, oh.
We are the Ghetto Kids from the Pearl of Africa, Uganda.
never actually happened. Normally the golden buzzer is pressed afterwards.
I got it wrong!
Yeah, someone didn't explain the rules of Britain's Got Talent to him.
He gave you the golden buzzer and you performed with the confetti. It was magical. And by the way, who's this little one?
My name is Josephine.
Hello, Josephine. How old are you, Josephine?
5 years.
I just want to say, you're absolute superstars, every single one of you. What you're doing is absolutely incredible, and we are honoured that you have come to Britain's Got Talent. You've lit up the stage, and the energy in the room and joy is incredible. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Your talent is unbelievable. And it felt to me like you really raised the bar on Britain's Got Talent. So well done.
I was literally exploding, I'm telling you. You should be proud of yourself. I can't wait to see you back. That's all I can say.
I think it's incredible that you're so young, you've flown all the way and no fear. This is an audition we're going to remember. And it was brilliant. That's what this show is all about. And that's what the Golden Buzzer is for.
That's where we end. Thank you so much. And I'm sorry if I've taken a lot of your time.
Now let's give Kevin the golden buzzer. Questions or comments?
At the end of the month at UF, there is a festival of dance, African dance and music.
I may need to find a lot about it.
I forgot the name of it, but at the end of the month, and it's very good.
And I'm sorry we didn't get to dance. So maybe if we have another session, I'll be able to teach you some of these songs we can sing together and some of these dance steps. Thank you.
I had a couple of questions. One was that prior to the internet age, the Voice of America was broadcasting African music around the continent. And I was wondering whether that was a way to sort of share the music and learn the music from different countries and cultures.
Maybe what I would say about that is that music traces all the way from the colonial period, where the colonialists came and at some point when they introduced education, that's when we are able now to interact with some of these musics from the Western world. And now that's where in terms of technology, technological advancements, that's where we were able now to capture some of this authentic music from the African perspectives. And when now they were able now to share them out, I can't really trace them to the exact dates, but that's how now music was able now to come to this other side. Although it's there, if you go through the history, you'll realize there were very good things and bad things in as far as the colonialism was concerned. That those ones that maybe would found music at first, they would find music as dangerous. African music, they would say that they were dangerous and they would prohibit people from participating in the music or performing the music. And at that point, maybe they were just focused on in schools teaching of the Western music. And that one translates, because I've done a little bit of curriculum development, you realize that also that one affected like the way our curriculum was previously, simply because it was more focused on the Western world. But now things are beginning to change and everybody's beginning to appreciate some of the African music. And you've realized that even now the Western world is beginning to adopt some of this music and including them into their performances.
Very well, thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, I hope you loved the presentation. Have a good day, good rest of your day. Thank you.